Welcome, Zon.
Hello, hello. What's cracking?
Not too much, just I think there are some people in the chat that are excited to learn a bit more about Initia and have their questions answered.
Oh yeah. Definitely keen to answer some questions, get the shilling on, teach some fellas. Appreciate all you making it out here today for our second community call. Make sure you get the oats later.
Yeah, yeah, if you guys haven't signed up for the Galaxy yet, it's in the announcements channel. Just the hard requirement is that you have to stay in here for at least 20 minutes, from start to end. So just make sure you do that so you don't miss out.
Hopefully I
And
won't be too boring.
no, surely not. We've got some amazing questions from our community members. So we're going to try to keep it nice and short, around 30 minutes or so, 30, 45 minutes. And yeah, I guess we're just going to get started with the first question. And so I think this is a good place to start, which is in layman's terms, what problem does Initia solve?
In layman's terms, well,
And yeah, in
so the
CT
way
terms.
in crypto, so kind of in crypto terms, a little bit, a little left curve is what we're calling for. Um,
Hmm.
I think Initia helps applications scale and it helps them own their own block space. For the most part, solutions today, they still come with a tremendous amount of problems and infrastructure that you need to upkeep, whether that be roll-ups on the OP stack or layer ones on the Cosmos SDK. Each of these still has tens of additional infra pieces that need to be run by teams or dealt with by teams. So Initia helps rollups essentially solve all of these problems from day one. Just focus on building their dApp and don't have to worry about how they connect to other chains, how they fetch certain information, how they bridge, what types of explorers they have, like what VMs they can use. Kind of all the major pain points are just out of the box, there for you, ready to go.
So it takes a lot of complexity out of deploying your own minutia, for example.
That's right. It should remove all effort, essentially, of spinning up your own application blockchain.
Okay, cool. All right. And so I think some people were maybe not fully aware, but just to kind of get this out of the way, who are the founders of Initia?
Yeah, so the founding team is Stan, who was busy today, and then me, Zon. And then we have about a team of 18 other people on Initia, but Stan and I are the founding team.
Okay, cool. So were the other 18 also a part of the founding team, or like were they
Right.
recruited shortly after?
So
Okay.
there's about maybe seven of us who came together to form Initia from day one. Um, and then after we did our pre-seed round from Binance Labs, we did some hiring and grew the team to about the 20 it is right now.
Okay, cool. Um, Alrighty. So yeah, this question was requested quite a bit, and it's does how is Initia different from blockchains like Cosmos or other roll up as a service platforms like Dimension, Saga, AltLayer?
For sure. So just a bit of the full layout of what Initia is. So essentially, we like to describe it as a network for interwoven rollups, and we like to call it the Initia platform. And it's essentially a platform for spinning up these rollups and just being able to focus on your dApp while everything else is kind of there for you. And if you look at systems that exist right now, so let's take the Cosmos SDK. It is the most powerful framework that you can use to build your own application blockchain because you can change everything about how your blockchain works on the Cosmos SDK side, and you can fully vertically integrate your apps. The problems arise when it comes to everything else. You have to maintain a validator set, often of 50 to 100 different participants. And more importantly, you have to inflate your token supply significantly to pay out to validators, who are most often your biggest dumpers. And then you have to maintain IBC relays between your layer one and basically every other chain. Now, conversely, if you look at systems like the OP stack, it made it very easy to spin up a rollup. So you can just do that in one click. But there's still tons of infra things you need to solve. Firstly, you're stuck with the EVM and Solidity, and maybe that's not your strong suit. Secondly, you can't really have instant bridging in and out of your rollup unless someone comes and deploys on you, a third party like Layer 0 or Synapse. You don't have access to oracles, native USDC through CCTP. You don't really know what the Explorer system is going to look like, what types of wallets can connect, etc. And so when we built Initia, we essentially wanted to merge these two kind of concepts. So what we did is we built the Initia layer one, which is a move-based Cosmos SDK chain, a new optimistic rollup framework that is VM agnostic, and then layer two implementations that work in EVM, MoveVM, or WASM VM. So teams can build kind of in whatever VM suits them best based on their specific requirements or whatever they know best. But each of these layer twos is essentially a full-fledged Cosmos SDK chain where you rip out consensus and you plug in the OP init stack. So you can still change everything about your chain itself if you wanted to on the Cosmos SDK side to fully vertically integrate, to do things like native account abstraction, changing the gas fees, having custom mempool lanes, or you could just build on the smart contracting layer. And in tandem to this architecture stack rebuild, one thing that we really wanted to prioritize was the UX stack rebuild. So explorers, wallet experience, bridging experience, how should these things look and feel in a multi-chain world? Right now, if you look at Cosmos as like a multi-chain world, Mint Scan is like one of the most popular explorers. But in my opinion, it's not very great. As well as things like Kepler, I think have some room to grow as well. And so on Initia, we built Initia Wallet, which is what we believe is like the right approach for a multi-chain wallet, as well as just a wallet widget that lets you connect on any Initia, despite its VM, to MetaMask, Rabby, Kepler, Leap, Initia Wallet, like OKX Wallet. We have signing support for both EVM signing and Cosmos signing. And we don't want like downloading a new wallet to be a barrier to entry for anyone. People should just be able to onboard into these application blockchains as easy as possible. And that's why we call these things interwoven rollups. So across these Minishas, which are in Move, Solidity, Cosmosm, you have full interoperability between them because of the way we've integrated each of these VMs. So what's happening is that in each of these VMs, when you make things like coins or NFTs, you also make, there's a seamless connection with the Cosmos SDK side. So whenever you transfer tokens between various Minishas, they're moving on the Cosmos SDK side, and they're represented on each respective smart contract. And they're interwoven because each of these rollups has full access over IBC to every other Cosmos chain, and all those relays are set up, as well as every EVM chain through a bridge partner that I'm not allowed to say.
So you can't spill the alpha. That's what you're saying.
I can't spill that alpha yet.
Okay.
But one additional thing that I'll mention that I think is quite different from basically any RAS solution is I think we've thought through the economic mechanisms of this system a lot more. Most typical layer ones and projects, they just use their native token for things like staking. And
Hmm.
then they typically do like a grant program, but it's often very subjective. Those tokens don't always get back to the hands of users. And we've essentially baked in an economic system into our layer one slash layer two hybrid design. So directly, we've built in a huge part of the Initia token supply that gets delivered to users and applications across layer twos in a very interesting way. And it helps drive a lot of init value um, more than things like just gas fees.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it's really interesting how the economic solution will play out with Initia compared to some of these other RAS solutions. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. So another good question we have is how will Initia overcome the complexity and fragmentation that often occurs in traditional modular and multi-chain systems?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, so that's kind of one of the reasons that we built Initia, is that we found that a lot of these solutions are just fragmented. When you look at Cosmos itself, it's very fragmented, especially because in IBC, everything's pairwise connected. So if I sent, say, Mista token from chain A to chain B, and then from chain B to chain C, versus if I sent Mista token from chain A to C directly, I would get two different Mista tokens on chain C, which is
Right.
obviously a horrible user experience. And then conversely, on things like roll-up systems, they all have these 7-day settlement delays unless an instant bridge comes and deploys. And because of that, you just naturally have fragmentation. You have various wrap token standards, you have all these different bridge solutions, you have all these different DA layer options. It's just a lot of choice overload. So when we built the Initia platform, what we did was we kind of picked one really good team in each of these stacks that we need support on, like the DA layer and some of the bridging, and then just really deeply integrated with them. So as a developer, you don't need to think about any of these things. You don't need to choose between them. There's kind of just like one standardized framework that's there for you, but you can still change everything about your application chain. And so, because we've done this, and the way that our layer two architecture works with our layer one, and because of the interwovenness of these rollups, you essentially have fungibility across every one of these layer twos. So, if I was to send USDC from one rollup to another rollup, what's actually happening is that USDC is being sent to the layer one, and then from the layer one to this other layer two. And in this way, you preserve the layer one being the hub source chain for all of these IBC transfers. So all the token standards are exactly the same. And then we've built a system called Minute Swap, which allows users to essentially instant bridge these optimistic rollup tokens without having to wait these 7 days. So we've really solved the fragmentation problem, both from a technical perspective, but also from a user experience perspective. And that's where something like our bridge widget really comes in handy. It's like a standardized widget that will be on every layer two application that just aggregates all the right routes for you when you're moving tokens around the Initia ecosystem, but also external chains. So you don't need to think about, hey, I need to bridge from Portal Bridge, or I need to go to Axler's website, or I need to do any of those things and bridge to the Initia layer one and then bridge to a certain layer two. All of that's just kind of done for you. So I just need to go to an application and say, I'm onboarding, I'm using my MetaMask wallet still, I'm sending from this source chain.
Yeah, I just speaking from a user experience, having the like, if I ever need to use Portal Bridge, I'll bridge some USDC to, Sui or Aptos or some random chain, and I'll get some USD token that has no liquidity, and then I'll have to like swap back out, and then I'll get slipped on fees and things like that. So I think it's really important how Initia is solving that problem.
Right. Yeah, it's huge, especially when you don't have to deal with liquidity, exactly what you're saying. What we've kind of done as well to help solve this problem and to allow you to do swaps, for example, as you're moving from layer two to layer two, is we've built on the layer one, we've essentially enshrined liquidity. And how we did that was we allow for multiple denominations to be staked with our layer one validators. So you can stake various init token pairs directly with validators like init USDC, init ETH, init Atom, init whatever else. And that acts as a hub of liquidity on the layer one that every layer two can tap into, as well
Mhm.
as acting as an interchain router. So I'm sending USDC from one layer two and I want ETH on another layer two. That all just happens in one seamless flow through the bridge widget. So you don't need to think about where is the best source of liquidity. It's always going to happen for you on the layer one there. And then you'll get the right token on the layer two.
That's it's crazy to think about how we're going to live in a world like that one day where bridging from chain to chain is seamless, and there's always going to be some just like liquidity to use and like not just worrying about getting a random asset and things like that. So yeah, I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, it should
So
hope to solve a lot of the problems that exist in modular ecosystems. And one of the nice things was that we are able to build this from scratch, right? We built this entire system with all of these problems in mind, and we're
mhm.
launching this layer one solution with the layer two solution together, rather than trying to build this layer two solution on an existing old framework like Ethereum or somewhere else, which really allows us to make certain architecture trade-offs that benefit the final end goal experience.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and just a reminder if in case anyone is asking in the chat, the public testnet will be out in Q1 this year. So just it's probably a good idea to keep our notifications on our Twitter to get updated with everything and to be able to get into the testnet right away. So with that being said, I think it's a good time to get into the next question, which Initia has talked about using Celestia for data av- availability, and the next question is: does Initia only use Celestia for DA, or are we planning to use other DAS such as Eigen Eigen ABS, Near DA, or things like Avail?
Yeah, so this is one of the points that I mentioned earlier. When it comes to modular solutions, there's a lot of choice overload for developers and application teams, right? You can choose between 6 different DA layers and 3 different bridges and 5 different oracles. And this is something that we just want to streamline. So we've just have a very good partnership with the Celestia team, and are just using them for everything for DA. And that's because our layer one validator set uses something called Omnitia shared security. And that's essentially when there's a fraud proof challenge on a layer two, our layer one validator set gets tapped in to basically scope out the problem, create fraud proofs, and then come to consensus on if there needs to be a rollback, if the optimistic bridge needs to change, if there was some fraud occurring on a layer two. And by using one DA layer, and especially Celestia, which has namespaced Merkle trees, it lets the layer one validator set very easily find the information that they need. If we expanded to using multiple different DA layers for our layer twos, that layer one validator set would then need to look up potentially in multiple different places, which is just a bit of an extra burden for an advantage that I haven't seen too thoroughly yet. I think So for the most part, we're planning to stick with Celestia DA. If there's a very compelling reason to switch to something like Eigen DA, we will definitely consider it. And I think Eigen layer is more interesting from the AVS perspective rather than the DA layer. So using restaked ETH to secure the sequencers on these various rollups, and that can happen using whatever DA layer, fine. So we're in conversations with the EigenLayer team about some things that we need to scope out still, but that's a potential collaboration opportunity.
Wow, okay. That's some pretty big alpha that you just spilled right there. So I think everyone listening appreciates that for sure. Um, so you talked a little bit about the economic functions of the init token, um, like with the L1, with the L2s, and a lot of people ask just maybe I guess more generally for whatever you can share about the native utility for the init token in the future, if you can say anything.
Yep. So there's a few things that we think help drive value to the Initia token. So firstly, on the layer one, like I mentioned, you can stake just init tokens with validators, but you can also stake those init token LP pairs directly with validators. So this helps drive a hub of liquidity onto the layer one that helps boost rewards for stakers because they generate both staking rewards, but also swap fees. And if you can imagine, some of those pairs can be LSTs as well. So things like init, staked ETH, staked Atom, staked BNB. And then users who are staking in those pairs would both get LSD rewards, swap fees, and the native staking rewards on the layer one. You can also use init for gas if you want to across these layer twos, but it's not mandatory. We want layer twos to be able to use whatever they want for gas. So whether that's USDC, whether that's WIF, whether that's like TIA tokens, it's kind of up to them. So what we've done is built Initia VIP, and VIP stands for Vested Interest Protocol or Program, sorry. And this is basically the economic system that we've developed that really drives utility to the init token. It incentivizes applications to integrate the init token into their products, and it incentivizes users to use the Initia token within DeFi that exists on these layer twos or within any applications that exist there. And while you're essentially using the Initia token on those layer twos, you're getting additional rewards directly from the layer one to do so. And in this way, we kind of end up soft locking a lot of the init token supply across these layer twos and creating a lot more interesting utility for them aside from things just like gas fees.
Okay, cool. Um, so we definitely have a lot of NFT PFPs in our Discord, and so this is kind of a good segue into our next question, which is that a lot of people asked about cross-chain bridging with NFTs specifically throughout throughout Minishas and the layer one. So I know like for things like USDC, it'll be native, but for the NFTs as well, is that something that is on the table or that you guys have kind of worked on or thought about?
Yeah, it definitely is. So one of our partners that we're working with is a very large game studio in South Korea. They have over 60 million monthly active users, and we'll be launching a few different games with them. So NFT composability, especially across rollups, was one of the main things that we need to get right. For the most part, right, tokens was fairly easy because by using the hub layer one chain as the source for all the IBC transfers, you essentially create fungibility across all these rollups. And for NFTs, we want to ensure that the same thing happened. So we've built out a messaging protocol that's built into IBC that allows these NFTs to transfer from any layer two to any other layer two fungibly. So essentially, there is one layer two that we've built that's kind of a testing playground that is called Shuffle. It's an NFT marketplace, but it actually aggregates NFTs across every layer two that exists on Initia. So you can trade NFTs across rollups through this one front end, no problem. And in the back end, they'll be transferred to the correct chains. And totally, that's like behind the scenes. You don't have to worry about it as a user. So NFTs could be minted on various different rollups or minitias, and you'd be able to trade them all across those rollups, no problem.
So I could have my Ginny NFT on the layer one, and if I want to bring it over to my favorite L2 to mess around with, that is possible.
Correct. It is possible.
That's awesome. That's that's great. So yeah, there was one question that one particular person kept asking. I'm sure if you're here, you'll appreciate this. But so he noticed that the Twitter is Initia FDN, and he's asking what the FDN stands for.
The FDN stands for foundation.
Foundation. Okay. Well, there you go. You have your answer, sir.
We had a bit
Um,
of a struggle deciding if it should be FND or FDN. And I think we changed it maybe 3 or 4 times, but we're sticking with FDN now.
yeah, like yeah, foundation. Yeah, I get it. FDN. Okay.
Foundation. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Got it, got it. Okay. Um, so yeah, the next question is more about I guess in real life events. So yeah, the question is, will Initia host some real life events or hackathons in different countries or um just anywhere really to introduce the project to people and yeah, just in real life. So, things like conferences or, you know.
Yeah. So our first major conference that Stan and I, as well as you, Mista, will be attending
Woo woo.
is ETH Denver. So at ETH Denver, we'll be speaking at App Chain Day, hosted by Dora Hacks, as well as here's a little alpha leak for you. We'll be co-hosting Modular Day with
Oh shit.
Celestia, Berachain, Aptos, and Movement Labs. And so that'll be an entire day just to focus on these few teams in the modular ecosystem. Um, and that should be pretty fun and exciting. So if you're in Denver, definitely stop by Modular Day.
Yeah, that'll be fun co-hosting Modular Day. That's pretty crazy. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So yeah, if any of you guys are coming to East Denver, feel free to come meet us, say what's up. And yeah, we're looking forward to it. So,
There will be
the
some there will be some special merch for anyone that does pull up.
oh shit, okay. Get some free swag.
Let's
Um,
go.
okay, so yeah, the next question is why did Anisha choose the Move programming language specifically for the layer one?
Yeah. Good question. So we started exploring Move because a lot of our developers are Cosmwasm pros. So quite a few people on our team have been building in Cosmos since before there was even a smart contracting environment there. So they're actually phenomenal. They've like contributed many times to both Cosmos SDK as well as Cosmwasm itself. And Cosmwasm is a Rust-based language. It's extremely powerful and very safe, but it still follows the philosophy that you see in Solidity when it comes to like how data is stored and managed. And that's typically like figuring out how to store everything in various maps. And Move was very interesting when it came out. It really turns smart contracting into object-oriented programming. And so you can have these objects that can evolve over time, that don't have to be based on like various map structures. And so Move also has a great amount of security benefits. It doesn't have things like reentrancy attacks. And I think it'll be one of the biggest programming languages for smart contracting in the future, specifically because it has probably the easiest path to becoming a pro. So it's very easy for developers to come in and pick up Move, much easier than it is to pick up something like Solidity or Cosmosm. But that's why we integrated it on the layer one. But we realized that we don't want Move adoption to stop the adoption of the Initia platform. There's many reasons you might want to use a different smart contracting framework, whether that's because you just know it very well, or whether you want to fork a project from Solidity, or you like the pure rustness of Cosmosm. And that's why on our layer twos, we made such an effort to implement each of these three VMs. So you can run a layer two in EVM, Move VM, or WASM VM and use Solidity, Move, or CosmWasm. And then made sure that with each of these VM integrations, we did it right. And so you can do IBC transfers directly in each of these smart contracting languages. You can send tokens and NFTs and do cross-chain contract calls between various VMs. It's a really flush system, and I think it will be the future because you shouldn't force developers to use a certain language. They should be able to use whatever they want, and we've essentially enabled that.
So move equals best programming language. Got it. Understood. Understood. Got it. Okay, so yeah, the next question is, can we do anything to contribute now? And I'll kind of take this one. So the answer is yes. At the moment, there are, of course, things like the Galaxy Quest that we have right now for this AMA, and just attending the AMA. We're going to be doing several more quests in the future. Things for just like educational content, like memes and things like that. So I would say if you want to contribute, the best thing that you can do right now is just to stay active and engage in our Discord and our Twitter. We are selectively handing out roles to more active and helpful users, as well as people that are staying active in their respective regional channels. So like if you go down like into the Discord a bit, you'll see there's a Chinese channel, Russian, Spanish, Vietnamese, etc. So if you speak those languages, feel free to communicate with your pals there as well. But yeah, the short answer is stay active, engage with us, ask good questions, provide us feedback, and the roles that you are able to obtain, you let's just say you will want to obtain those. I won't say why, but it will be a good thing if you do. And so yeah, just stay active, engage, just hang out with us. So yeah, and okay, we kind of answered this question and this one as well. Yeah, so the next question is about, will there be an ambassador program implemented in the future? And this is an option that we're exploring. We want everyone who wants to get involved to have the ability to contribute and get involved. So we're exploring a few different options here, and we will have more information coming soon. So just keep an eye out on the announcements channel in the Discord, and that will be the source of truth for any ambassador or moderator type programs. And I guess the final question before I'll take some more like tentative questions from the chat is there a roadmap for incorporating privacy features into the Initia ecosystem, such as ZK rollups or other privacy preserving technologies?
So I think it's definitely something we're interested in. I think we just have our hands full getting ready for public testnet. I'll say that public testnet is coming sooner than you think, with a kick-ass ecosystem already there from day one. So we're heads down building that and working with some of our first few project teams to get those ready to go. When it comes to things like ZK rollups, it's definitely something that we will try and do in the near future or the midterm future. I think ZK rollups are obviously the next step and the next generation of rollups. But at the moment, we've just built out the ZK, or sorry, the OP init stack, and then the
Mm-hmm.
ZK init stack will come later.
Okay, cool. All right. Before we wrap it up, I'm just gonna gander into the chat. If you guys want a few more questions answered, feel free to just throw it in the AMA chat, and we'll have about 5 or 10 more minutes of that, and then we'll wrap it up. A lot of Jennies. Thank you, thank you. Can we participate in test nets? You will be able to participate in the test net sometime in the next couple of months.
Yep. So we're live on closed testnet as of a few weeks ago. So basically, all of our infrastructure is done, up and running. VM's integrated, Initia scan, Initia app, Initia wallet, wallet widget, bridge widget. Basically, everything is there, and now we're working with a few core teams to get some applications ready. And by the time public testnet rolls around in a couple of months, there'll be a slew of activities for users to engage in. And it would be wise to engage in those applications, one might say.
It would be wise to engage in such activities. That's what you're saying. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think this is a good question. Could you elaborate on the governance model of Initia, especially concerning decision-making processes and community involvement? How does the project balance decentralization with efficient decision making? I'm not sure how far we into how far we are into that, but if you could provide any context, would be good.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this is more of an on-chain question or like an off-chain within the company. When it comes to community management, Mista here is your go-to guy. Any questions or ideas you have about getting the community more active, things that you might want to see, events, whether those be things like Smash tournaments or meme tournaments or things in real life, you can target Mista. If anyone happens to beat me in Smash Bros, I'll give you a special role because I think I cannot be beat. I think I just have too much power when it comes to Smash. When it comes to decentralization and on-chain things, we'll look to our layer one stakers and the init token holders to do a lot of that. We want to make sure that we're decentralized, and that's why we did a roll-up approach, especially an optimistic roll-up approach, rather than sovereign rollups. So a few solutions out there like Rollkit and Dimension currently use sovereign rollups. I think in security-wise, optimistic rollups are much better, with ZKs being the best. Yeah, hopefully that provides a bit of context.
Okay. One of the more higher are the more impactful questions that I'm seeing right now is from Stan, and he asked, "Does Zon have a dog?"
I do have a dog. Um,
Yeah.
yep, he does some barking as well. He's not as cute as Jenny, and he's not our mascot, unfortunately. He didn't have the right color palette to match our theme. But Jenny is the initial dog, so please give her some love.
Okay. What the breed of Zon's dog?
I believe he is a um I don't even know what he is. He's just a little monster.
He's just a good boy. That's all that
Yep.
matters.
He's just a good boy.
Okay. Any last questions before we close it out? I someone asked, anyone claim the Galaxy Oat? Yeah, I did see a handful of people that were able to claim it. I increased the mint cap as this AMA went on. So everyone who participated should have been able to claim it. Um, will there be a form for validators for the
So
public testnet?
on public testnet, we'll have a validator program. It follows similarly to the Celestia program. Essentially, there will be criteria based on both things like uptime, but also community engagement. Um, and those will play crucial roles on whether validators are included in the active set. But definitely look out for more information as we start to approach public testnet on how exactly that'll unfold.
Alrighty. How many team members work with Initia? Yeah, we answered that earlier, and it's what about 22 or
About
so?
22 is right. We have an office. Everybody works in person, or at least the vast majority of people work in person every day. We're on the grind, so it's good to be in person and working together.
Alrighty. Okay, I am not seeing any more questions. I think we answered the majority of the questions that were spammed a lot throughout the week. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone for coming out and asking such
We'll
amazing
probably
questions.
hold a third one, maybe next month sometime.
Hmm.
Let Mista know if there's any other community initiatives you want him to pick up. But in the meantime, stay engaged here in Discord, follow our Twitter. We'll be posting a lot of awesome information as we continue to reveal different pieces of the Initia tech stack we've been building for about a year now in stealth. Um, it's going to be awesome, guys. I'm very excited for what's to come. I think we're going to take things by storm.
All right, well, Zon, thank you for your time, and thank you for everyone that came out to listen and ask questions. And we will be hearing from you guys soon. All right, peace out, guys. See ya.